can't find a seconder usually when I propose this, but I don't care. I don't need a seconder. My own opinion is enough for me, and I claim the right to have it defended against any consensus, any majority, anywhere, any place, any time. And anyone who disagrees with this can pick a number, get online, and kiss my ass.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed are greater than the legal services provided by their lawyers. I'm Harry Steele. You found the Backstory Podcast, number 138. We are fill in the blank, Mr. Rip.
Fill in the blank with what?
By Mr.
Here we are, 138. Who would believe that? The Rip Report.
Yep, and I'm going to prove to you we are totally ineffective, shamefully ineffective, you and I.
No, I don't agree with that, and I think that when we discuss some of the Lagniappe articles, I'll emphasize it.
Okay, well,
I mean, some of the things that I think happen from, let's say, our transparency are corrected behind the scenes. I mean, we might be making complaints about something particular with a municipality or something like that, a police force, and then all of a sudden you hear they changed their policy. They don't do that anymore. Well, how come?
All right, so here's the big news from my opponent.
Oh, my God.
Attorney General Steve Marshall claims the mandate has violated the rights of healthcare workers and worsened staffing shortages in that sector, especially in rural and frontier states.
Oh my
We're now a
God.
frontier state like Alabama. So I totally agree with him. I think making somebody take a vaccine that's totally ineffective is a bunch of bullcrap. But I think
this is what the Attorney General should be doing at this day and time.
No, my point exactly.
Right.
While the streets are running red with blood and fentanyl's killing every third person that gives it a whirl, this is what he's concerned with. I love a good Trump. The low road, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just
who did that?
It keeps on rolling. The Economist, and so you know how I'm all about some crazy stuff, right? Some celestial whatever. Check that bad boy out.
No, I hadn't seen that. Toronto.
Yep. So
That's
it's
pretty quick.
Yeah, I think this is the Leonid. And does it say? I think it's the end. I think it's the end of the Leonid. So then we'll watch this real quick. All right, I don't want to get a copyright strike, but that is original. I shot that last night in the whatever it's called, the Super Slurpee Dome. It's the O Center next to the Superdome where they play basketball and stuff. So we went and saw the Eagles.
New Orleans.
Right. So anyway, that was a lot of fun. So how about this one, Paul? I don't know if you saw this or not. Explains all the Alabama Secretary of State paraphernalia with Trump's face on it. If you turn on the TV, there's an ad from Donald Trump telling you to go register to vote.
Correct.
Well, in return, Merrill attends 2-day Mar-a-Lago. We the suckers paid for all this. When your political career ends in a pegging, what is a washed-up Alabama politician to do? Well, go hang out with the rest of the washed-up politicians.
Now, he's out when?
January.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, after that salacious scandal that he was involved in, I was surprised he stayed around as long as he did after that.
All right, so unanimously, okay? This tells you a lot. Think about this. Unanimously, the Alabama Supreme Court ruled to allow a campus-free speech lawsuit to proceed despite a circuit judge's dismissal of the case. So they're saying this student doesn't have standing or whatever else, but what they're claiming is having to go get a permit before you can stand somewhere on campus and give them what for is a deterrence to your free speech, right? Even
I would say so.
even the octogenarians on the damn Alabama Supreme Court agree. So, regrettably, state courts, including Alabama's, have at times succumbed to blindly following federal constitutional interpretations in interpreting state constitutions. In practice, courts should consider addressing state constitutional issues before determining whether federal constitutional issues must be addressed. Yep. Did you hear about the Conecuh County race?
I did.
Okay. One vote.
One vote.
One vote. And all I said was, so long as it ain't, their last name isn't Halsey, who gives a damn who the sheriff is up there?
District 8 was 7 votes.
So a federal judge blocks Florida's anti-woke law, what you can and can't teach.
Did you see where DeSantis scored on 4 polls higher than Trump for presidential nomination 24?
Yeah, so would my dog, dude. Like,
go on.
Yeah. Alabama Power announces rate hike blaming rising fuel costs. That's the cost of the bribes to pay all the legislators to keep their poison on the banks of our rivers.
No, that's us paying more of their overhead that they're already supposed to pay. That's what that is.
All right.
A monopoly.
I don't know why this is coming up in my Twitter feed. Let's see here. China pushes back on FBI claims of Chinese police stations in the U.S. So I watched C-SPAN the other day, and it was the Homeland Security Director, the FBI Director, Christopher Wray, and all these other folks. It was a damn ducks in a shooting gallery, brother. It was not good. And, the Chinese, we are in a Cold War with the Chinese. Why can't we just admit that and quit calling them friends? And the fact that they're trying to infiltrate.
I know, but we're reliant on each other in several aspects to where we can't just wash our hands with each other.
Okay, well, how many people in Tommy Tuberville's office do you think have regular contacts with somebody in the military service of the Chinese government?
I doubt.
I bet it's on the reg. And I'm sure they don't know that that's who they're having contact with, but I bet it's on the reg because it's a Cold War, and that's the kind of stuff people do. So I want to talk about a good news story. I very rarely get to do that. So
I got a humorous one after that.
State Representative Steve McMillan spent 40 years in the Alabama legislature fighting for our people and the places he loved. Now one of those places will bear his name forever. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey was on hand in Fort Morgan to make it official. The new fishing and boat ramp in Fort Morgan are now named after a man she called a friend. It's a great honor to be here and to dedicate this pier and this boat ramp in Steve's name. So whenever you go down to Fort Morgan and enjoy the pier, remember my rabbi. So Paul, I take no pleasure in hearing that someone has a drug problem, but according to Debbie Williams, who usually just regurgitates whatever the sheriff feeds her, has written an article. It was dated the 18th of November, and it says a Baldwin County Sheriff's deputy was arrested Thursday on a methamphetamine charge, according to the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office website. Robert Dewberry, 34, is charged with possession of a controlled substance, methamphetamine possession. He was arrested at 11:41 p.m. Thursday night and released at 3:45 a.m. Friday morning on a $5,000 bond. Sheriff Mack says investigators made contact with Dewberry shortly after he went on shift and discovered methamphetamines and kratom in his patrol unit. Meth and kratom were also discovered during a search of his Daphne home. Dewberry graduated from the Mobile Police Academy in 2019, and he joined the sheriff's office in 2020. So tell me, Paul, am I being a nervous Nilly about giving these guys automatic weapons and armored personnel carriers and shit?
No, Military weapons. Well, it's that. I'll tell you what's more dangerous than that is that there's absolutely no transparency. They're running their own agency and nobody knows anything inside what's going on.
Well, this sounds like a guy that stepped out of line to me. So, do you know who Elizabeth Holmes
definitely
is? This chick?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Theranos.
Oh, yeah.
She
The
was going to do all
billionaire.
these. She was going to do these blood tests. So it's all these people that have the secret that none of us understand.
Right.
Madoff, this FTX genius that just bankrupted half the damn people under 20 years old in this country, and this Elizabeth Holmes woman who had this, all these millions of geniuses for years been working on cracking the. What is it? Was it a hemotype test or something? They could tell all the
Right.
stuff from a drop of blood, and it turned out it was bullshit.
One drop of blood. Well, she got 11 years.
Yep, and that sounds a little light to me. So guess who is all up Trump's ass 1,000%?
What? Who?
He's the leader America needs, says Tom Tuberville. Alabama's junior senator tweeted Thursday night. That's why I'm proud to endorse Donald J. Trump for president of these United States.
Well, jump on out there front and center, Tommy. That'll get us somewhere.
All right, Paul, I want you to talk about this because I know this is near and dear to your heart. We have been to the county commission meeting. We were there the day that they appropriated $600,000, and it turns out we were a little short on that, right? According to this new article.
Just a couple of 100,000. And today's or this week's Lagniappe, and I encourage people to get a Lagniappe. It's the only written thing that we're going to have out here soon. There will be no newspapers. Everything's going to be internet. But anyway, in the Lagniappe this week, and it does have a lot of different things, not only political stuff. We're discussing that because that's what we're generally on. But a lot of Thanksgiving things listed in there this week, too. But Damn the Torpedoes by Rob Holbert is money for nothing. And Harry, this is something we have just warned out that, why are we paying all this money for these cameras when we have no access to the cameras or anything that has been going on?
Or hilariously, officers of the court are not allowed.
Well,
do you understand how absurd it is for somebody in my position to be sitting here and having a sheriff tell an officer of the court that they can't look at relevant evidence? Are you kidding me? We're all here to get to the truth, right, Mr. Rip? Why are these judges playing this guy's game?
The police in Baldwin County have no transparency, have no oversight.
Well, every time
that is what's going on. They've got the power to do whatever the hell Mac wants to do.
Okay, well, let me tell you who has the power to put a hammer on his rear end. And every time the presiding judgeship changes here in Baldwin County, I keep thinking that it's going to, land on a crown worthy of the head it's sitting on. Mm-hmm. But so far, it's been the same old. And,
right.
So can I, I hear all kinds of things. People call me and tell me things that I'm sure are not true. But one of the things that I've heard from a fairly credible source is that the first 5 minutes of the O.J. French incident doesn't exist.
Oh, boy. Does that surprise us?
Well, no.
Does that surprise us at all? Listen, look, let me go back to this money for nothing thing. Part of the problem is, we've recited many instances where camera footage has been withheld by the sheriff's department. And if you did see any of the camera footage, it was selective. Now, in the case of Jonathan Victor, he was one that ran off the road in I-10, single car accident and ended up being shot by Baldwin County Police. That went on to a big press conference with Baldwin County District Attorney Bob Wilters leading assembled members of media to believe that Victor behavior could have been the result of drug use by saying that he had ketamine in his system. What the DA didn't say that was ketamine was administered by the first responders that got there. And secondly, they would not release the camera footage, so no one really knew anything that was going on. But in this particular case, the case is now in a federal level, and now the video is going to be seen. And even though the court blocked us from getting it from the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office or MCU, it ended up as evidence in a federal suit Jonathan Victor's mother, filed against Mac Hunaday and the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office. So you too can see it for yourself if you want to go to the website and the YouTube page, and it gives that in the article to where you can actually see it. But more importantly, last April, U.S. District Court Judge William Cassidy used that video as a basis for not allowing Mac and Hunaday qualified immunity in the case, essentially meaning that they are still part of the lawsuit. That decision was appealed and, of course, will be heard this week in Montgomery. It says this week in Montgomery, but I thought I read it somewhere else. It was April of next year. I'll have to double check that.
All right.
But anyway, the point being is, and this goes back to what you're saying about the OJ French thing, which is really telling. They have a federal Baldwin County Sheriff's Office, and I would assume the county has this lawsuit against them in federal court, where the judge has already, read them the riot act about what he's seeing on the video is not what they're saying is on the video, right? Now, in the case of Mr. French, OJ French, you have to take into consideration the Victor case, because here we have this case tracking along this way. Now, all of a sudden, the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office and Bay Minette Police are involved in an incident of taking somebody's life. And what are we depending on? Camera footage. We haven't seen any of the camera footage, but one thing I can tell you right now, they are not going to release the camera footage, because the camera footage is going to enhance the Jonathan Victor case, and the Jonathan Victor case is going to be enhanced by what they do in the OJ French case. And I'll say it again, we cannot depend on the district attorney, obviously, for the quotations that, on the Catamine with, and he's going to defend Sheriff Mack no matter what it is. No matter what goes on, those two have been backing each other up for 20 plus years. And, but what will happen is they'll go to the grand jury. Of course, that's secret. None of us are going to know anything. All right. And then all of a sudden, it'll be whitewashed away. None of us will get any explanation. We still won't get to see the video. The only way we're going to see the video is when it ends up in federal court. And when it ends up in federal court, then we're going to see a lot more than just that video. Another article that is related to that one, which is like a 3-page article, and I would really, really suggest people, if you're interested in where your tax dollars are going and what use you're getting out of your tax dollars, you should be looking at these articles and also asking why your police departments don't have, especially Baldwin County Sheriff's Office, don't have any more accountability to the county commission or the citizens of the community. But Alabama spends millions on police body camera video that we can't see. Now, let's see where this was. I was going to read you part of this one place. At least 2.5 million was spent on purchasing cameras in the last 8 years. That includes storage, maintenance costs, is additional 2 million. Now, as far as the cameras go, let's look at Baldwin County. The number of cameras that they had was 148. That was at 600,000 that Harry and I were talking about. Of course, at the meeting, they omitted the cost of storage, licenses, and etc., which brings it to $810,501 for 3 years, people. That's your tax dollars, and you're not getting anything for it. Zero. Zilch. The article goes through talking comparison-wise with Mobile County Sheriff's Office, all of the Eastern Shore agencies and smaller agencies, and what their policies are on the cameras, releasing the footage or not releasing the footage, and it's all over the board. I mean, some say yes, some say no, some say they don't know. Let's make it perfectly clear. We certainly understand that the footage would not be shown under a major investigation. However, you cannot just say, okay, we're investigating it. It looks like it's going to take us 20 years, so we don't have to show it to you because we're investigating it. That's another little ploy that they've been trying to go.
This is what everybody discounts, is that it only matters between now and the next election.
That's it.
That's the time frame these guys live in.
That's
it.
And
if they can delay it till then, they're done. Here, the sheriff just was sworn in at the commission meeting the other day for his 4th term, ran unopposed.
Well, when you're able to write the qualifications and get them done the way you want, to where you don't have any competition, I mean that's par in Baldwin County, as you eliminate your competition even before the race. But back to the camera thing, what I thought was real telling, quoting from the article, Harry, and that was by the Lagniappe staff, wrote that entire article, which, like I said, is 3 pages. But they quote, the Bay Minette Police Department did not give Lagniappe information on body camera policy. Requests for comment from the mayor, the police chief, the city attorney were not returned, and public records requests submitted by email to the city clerk's office on October 18th for information was not returned within the city's stated time frame of 10 days. In other words, the city has got a lockdown on saying anything. Joshua Brown, a member of the Bay Minette Justice League, which I highly support, a group advocating for answers after the Bay Minette police officer shot and killed O.J. French Jr. in August, told Lagniappe trying to get information out of them, the city of Bay Minette, is like trying to pull teeth out of a rabid dog. You guys are supposed to be working for us, he said, describing the Bay Minette declining to comment and withholding information he deemed as a matter of public record and making it a cloak and dagger situation. Police department's body-worn camera policies are, in fact, a matter of public record. Evans Bailey, a Montgomery attorney specializing in media law, told Lagniappe on Friday. Regardless of the MAC ruling, information on how many cameras the department has and how much money it costs to purchase and maintain them is the public's concern, and it should be made available to the public at all times. So, I'm telling you, our sheriff's department in Baldwin County is 30 years behind the times. And Harry, what you were talking about sometime is not feeling like you accomplish anything with a lot of this rhetoric that we put out. I disagree, because just like Joshua Brown and the Justice League and Bay Minette, the more we talk about it, the more we put our finger on it. I guarantee you they're going to have policy changes. If you think that they're not talking about policy changes after Jonathan Victor's got them by, in federal court and O.J. French is breathing down their neck,
Okay, so it turns out that was the Leonid meteor shower that caught that, where they caught that thing in France. So the ex-Pritchard Water Board manager, Nina Brantley, was indicted by the grand jury, and her husband has been arrested on additional charges. There's a shocker. Okay, here's a good one for you, Mr. Rip. The National Fish and Wildlife Foundation has approved 5 restoration and conservation projects in Alabama's Gulf Coast region, a total of $47 million for what will be the final projects funded through and established after the 2010 Deepwater Horizon oil spill disaster.
My God.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So now, man, it's Katie bar the door. Let's see, Dolphin Island East End restoration, $26 million to pump sand up there so these people don't lose their beach houses.
And guess what? It'll be gone again in 2 years.
Where's the Gulf Highland? Where's that?
I saw that. I'm not sure.
Well, it's a acquisition, $8.5 million. Lower Fish River watershed. They can spend all the money they want to down there and never fix anything. Now, Wolf Creek and Sandy Creek, those aren't in bad shape yet. And the coastal adaptive that's just going to be a bunch of salaries. You know, I don't know. I'm sure Elliot's wife's tired of working at the sheriff's department. Maybe she'd get one of them jobs over there doing that. So yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of money in all that. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about this one real quick. Let's see here. So there's a program through the USDA, and I guess it's kind of like a after school food program, and so the USDA gives money to different organizations, and they provide through their city recreation department after school meals for at-risk youth. And so at some point up in Dothan, this thing, there's allegations by this lady named LaTanya Dorsey, and I should say she is my client, and she's the owner-operator of Mama T's restaurant in Dothan, and she's requested $25 million in recompense for what she claims was the city committed fraud, cheated, and intimidated her.
I'm going to believe her, just knowing some of the history of Dothan, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, so that's why you haven't heard from us much lately. Is I've been busy.
Well, good luck with that one, man.
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. So, and the other thing is nobody up there. Well, I don't want to say nobody up there knows me, but not many people in the legal profession, 4 or 5. So it's interesting practicing somewhere you don't know a lot of people. So the Montgomery Public School is the first school district to directly challenge a 2017 law, the Alabama Memorial Preservation Act, which prohibits the renaming, removal, or alteration of any memorial building or street named more than 40 years ago. So they want to take the name off of the Jefferson Davis High School. Paul, if you follow the spirit of 1776, and if you've ever read anything that Jefferson Davis ever wrote, and don't discount him being one of the smartest people who was ever elected to the legislature, you would understand that the spirit of 1776 and the, what's a good way to put it? The idea of consent of the governed, that all went away in 1865. So, if you want to take some guy's name off of this, because he was, the president of the Confederacy or whatever, I don't know that you're really doing yourselves any favors by taking away all of the public reminders we have of what a lot of people at the time and the people that wrote about the Lincoln and some of the other people at the time, they called it the great folly of their generation, that they couldn't come up with a better solution than
I think slavery
the loss
is
of
the
2/3
issue.
of our. Okay, I don't. That's you, Mr. Rip, Make my point for me.
That's it.
I just said here.
That's what the point is.
Is what? Slavery? Jefferson? Really? Mr. Rip, I suggest you read a book instead of burning one, and go read something that Jefferson Davis wrote. And I think I think we could all learn something, especially people on the school board up there. If you want to talk about who deserves our reverence.
I'm just saying that's what I think issue.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
Okay, well, don't tell me. That's what they're saying. I'm just telling you what they're saying.
Okay, well, so let me ask you this. Do you really think the federal government's going to come down and they're going to say, no, because this offends someone, your state law saying they can't rename this school? Do you see what I'm saying? We're trying to govern ourselves here, not by Tommy Tuberville and Nancy Pelosi up there. I would much rather decisions be made locally. The Alabama state legislature says you can't do this. Easy peasy.
Well,
why don't y'all elect some better people to the legislature? I'm doing my damnedest down here. All right. Google reaches $329 million settlement over location data. So did you know that your Android phone was tracking you all the time?
Long time.
Of course you did, but you didn't know that they were selling it to the government and other third parties. You know, the government can't track you, but they can buy the information that Google used to track you.
Okay. All right. Now,
right?
Look, this comes into play with what I got this week. I got to tell you this because I did not believe this when the guy called me. He called me. He calls me and tells me that every now and then he likes to watch porn, right? And I said, okay, so what? He said, yeah, but he said, you won't believe what's going on. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, when you click on this site, an ad comes on with this guy touting marijuana, gummies, and yes, Alabama, we are shipping to you now. And it's an ad, a direct ad for direct shipping of marijuana products. And it's being carried on this one site. So I told him I just didn't believe it. He sent me a screenshot of the damn thing and recorded it. And sure as hell, Harry, it is. I mean, it starts out like, hey, Alabama, this is a notice to you. It is now available to you in the state of Alabama. Call us, contact us. I said, oh, my God, man, I couldn't believe it. So I'm sure we're going to hear something about that soon.
Really? So
how can they do that?
You think it's like targeting people or something?
It's targeting Alabama. He's stating, I mean, it's a direct ad to Alabama, and that's what he's saying. Is that they're tracking it the way that they're tracking it is like it is specifically stating.
So you're saying when you go to this porn site, an ad pops up, and instead of it being for a Johnson that hooks up to a reciprocating saw, the ad is
it's marijuana.
We'll ship marijuana to you in Alabama,
and then immediately after that, it goes to the porn site.
So it's going from your IP address. It knows wherever this server is. It knows that you're calling from Alabama, right?
Well, no, sure,
right,
sure. I mean, it's the same type of tracking.
All right. Well, here's what we need to do. We need to call Raines, and we need to get him to go to the same porn site from Texas and see if it says, "Hey, if you're in Texas."
Oh, that'd be interesting. That'd be real interesting, man. I wanted to copy it and send it to the sheriff's department, but I don't know. That might be illegal. So I don't.
That might be illegal. You might be soliciting. And you might be Paul. You might be the reason that one of these poor deputies gets hooked on methamphetamines and gets arrested at work.
Good shit.
So,
God, I'd rather know they're smoking pot at work than doing meth.
Meth? Yeah, I don't think I want to be pulled over. So, okay, so I got to tell you this. So there was this tweet that came out, right, or this thing on AL.com. And so, do you know what the machine is?
I know what the machine is.
Okay, so the machine, for the uninitiated, is a underground student organization, pretty much led by the Greek houses, and they control everything that happens on the University of Alabama campus because they block vote, and they get together in the basement and they make a decision about who's going to be the editor of the whatever their paper's name is up there. Mm-hmm. And whoever, we do something a little different at Auburn. We have kind of our own little underground, and we have a student leader group, self-perpetuated, called the Spades, and all this other stuff. But anyway, it's institutional control, and the idea that Katie Britt being willing to go against the machine and making those tough decisions, I think it helped increase her experience with being in adverse situations, having persevered and resilience. Says the Reverend Robert Turner, one of Britt's former SGA staffers. Okay, the idea that she was some kind of outsider at the University of Alabama makes me want to puke. Her boyfriend is an offensive lineman.
How do you think she got there?
Jeez. It's
well,
like she said. Look, so listen, dude. She's one of those little overachiever little girls that sat down when she was 12 and wrote out her life plan, like in blood, and said, "This is what I'm going to do."
She worked with Shelby about 8 or 9 years, I think.
I don't know, man, but I mean,
yeah,
go hang out with that lifeless bunch of robots at the Business Council of Alabama. that would have been a
I'll tell you
chore.
what, though, when you talk about bringing home the bacon, baby, you can't say too much bad things about Shelby. I mean, in one hand, he's
he's one
criticizes the government, but in the other hand, he's trying to get money out of their pocket.
Yep. He's one of the people that decided we're going to beat them at their own game. So up to
FTX.
Yeah, up to $2 billion in client money missing in crypto giant FTX collapse. At least $1 billion of customer funds and possibly as much as $2 billion have gone missing in the shocking implosion of the crypto currency exchange FTX, according to reports. FTX flamboyant founder Sam Bankman-Fried, also known in the industry as FBS, secretly funneled $10 billion of customer funds into his trading company, Alameda Research, and 2 other media outlets.
10 billion we're talking about. Now, Harry, I wonder what Salvador has done. The El Salvador, because their whole government kind of went crypto. They're trying it out.
Yeah, Raines and I've been talking about doing a crypto podcast for a while, and it seems like now might be a good time to let people you know what I mean? It's like I'm so certain it's a bad idea that I don't even want to breathe life into it by talking about it. You know what I mean?
I can see where it can eventually work out, but there's just too many holes in it right now.
Okay, so I've been to the Secretary of State's office several times during these past couple of bull crap things that have befallen me.
No avail.
So on Wednesday, Secretary of State-elect Wes Allen announced staff appointments to his office, which will become effective January 16th after he is inaugurated. So Clay Helms, who, I don't know, he previously served as chief of staff. He was an Auburn grad. I don't know. He sounds like he might know what he's doing. But here's what begs the question. If Clay Helms is going to be the chief of staff, what's going to happen to the Eskimo boy? What's his current form? He used to be our county administrator here, Paul. Help me. Brewer.
Brewer?
Yeah, David Brewer's the chief of staff right now. I guess he's on the bricks. So then former state rep Mike Jones from Andalusia, he's a practicing attorney for more than 2 decades. He's an excellent attorney, Jonathan Hester. So I guess that means that our other pal, what's his name? Hugh Evans III. I don't see his name anywhere around here.
Oh, I'll be glad to see his name go.
Right. So anyway, we got some new players going to be in the Secretary of State's office, and hopefully that'll be a good thing.
Hopefully.
So anything? Oh, so I guess you've heard about the Twitter shakeup or whatever. All these people
I was
are
going to
leaving.
say, I know you can't bypass that.
Yeah. So the biggie, and I don't know that I put it up today, but I think it came out today or yesterday that that Trump's forever ban has been lifted.
Correct.
Well, shit.
Correct.
That's pretty big news. And it's like I say all the time, the best thing to combat bad information is good information. So let Trump have his platform and put out all kinds of manure. And trust me,
Well,
good people
they did
will
a
tamp it down.
little. They did a little survey, and I found it interesting. It was only 2 points, 3 points difference either way. And that's what fascinates me is how the country sometimes is split just straight down the damn middle. Could sometimes 50-50, you know? So
you know how there's always these classy people in the towing business?
right.
Well, there's
Yeah.
a classy council member in the towing business. And he's again been booked into jail for using vulgarities and other disturbing activities during the confrontation with another council member. And like I said, stay classy, Alabama. Tarrant, Alabama.
Where was that? Where was that? Trussville?
Tarrant. And that's where
Tarrant.
the guy that ran against on the Democratic ticket against Marshall was the police chief of Tarrant. Yeah. So did you see the Dave Chappelle Saturday Night Live?
No, but I heard about it.
It was good.
I heard it was hilarious.
It was good. It was really good. I thought it was one of the better ones. So we had a huge flu surge here the first week of school or the first month of school.
Yeah.
Remember Orange Beach was out. And so anyway, they're saying, you know, because of this big surge, we needed to be washing our hands and all these things that nobody's ever going to do again. And so in another first of Amazon and Jeff Bezos, he takes a big belly flop off the high dive. He loses $1 trillion in stock value. First company ever. Then
Ouch.
Meta lays off 11,000 employees. See, when you pay off the government to make sure that you don't have any competition, and then those guys kind of blow up, yeah, same thing happened to Standard Oil and some other people about 120 years ago.
Well, now
So-
a lot of that blow up employees and then dropping them back now was during COVID when they underestimated the longevity of COVID and they hired so many people in. And then, of course, if you got people staying at home working, the production levels started falling to nowhere because they weren't working at home. So, bingo, that's what happens.
So, Paul, all the progressive places like Opelika are taking their public lands and turning them into archery parks. My money's on Fairhope's Triangle.
That's what Fairhope had proposed one time for the Triangle. Was Robert Brown, Councilman Brown, wanted to put an archery course there, and I figured it would be the most expensive archery course in the entire United States. Of course, that failed, and I think the roller coaster down to the bay failed too. I'm not sure.
So the red wave did not happen as predicted.
No, wasn't even a ripple.
And the Humpty Dumpty New York Post, I thought that was pretty good.
I think you're going to see, like today, I'm working in the house a good bit, and I got the news on all damn day on 2 or 3, 4 channels, and it really looks like the Republicans are going to vacate Mr. Trump. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here in 2024.
So November 8th, I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch the total lunar eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
Did you check that out?
Yeah.
I went to Auburn to be a pharmacist, right? So I got a job in the Drake Student Health Center, and all I did was hand out birth control and amoxicillin and Keflex, right? Like my arm got tired. That's all I did was throw that stuff all day long. amoxicillin is like the greatest miracle drug that we ever created. There's no patent on it. It's cheap. Very few people have bad reactions to it, like other of those schedule of drugs. And so now there's a shortage.
What's it for?
It's a damn, Paul. When you get an infection, what's the word I'm looking for?
Antibiotic?
It's an antibiotic. It's one of the most common antibiotics on the planet, and it's dirt cheap. And so anyway, when you're a little kid and you can't take a pill, they take this amoxicillin powder and they mix it up in that syrup, that makes it taste good to little kids, orange syrup or whatever. You got to keep it in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Well, they ain't none. And we got all these kids that are sick. And you just wondered, who the hell's in charge around here, man? I mean, it's what. So let me tell you something else. Publix and who else? Walmart and who else? I went 3 places. Nobody has cornmeal.
Cornmeal,
diesel fuel, amoxicillin. I mean, these are pretty major components. What's left? Food, fuel. I guess we still have clean, potable water.
They had a cornmeal run before Thanksgiving. That's what it is.
Well, it's just crazy. Don't you think they do it every year?
Yeah, really.
Fairhope is still trying to play nice and get their own post office back. I just don't get it, man. Do you watch the Capitol Journal?
Sometimes I flip through them all, really.
Okay, well it's pretty good, pretty good information, and I suggest everybody watch it. Have you seen Mr. Whitmire's condemnation of the fact that we still keep the first White House of the Confederacy standing? We should set it on fire and burn it to the ground and roast marshmallows on it. I'm just trying to keep it real with y'all. You could read the whole article, or I could just read it for you and tell you what to think. So, do you remember Ben Darby?
Right.
Well,
Mr. Darby.
Huntsville continues to defend him.
Man, what does that cost him?
I don't know. Hey, did you see the standoff down at Government Street?
Oh, yeah.
Guy barricaded himself in the car. Way. Well, he shot himself.
Glad to see it ended the way it did.
The guy died, man.
Well, I know, but it could have got really a lot worse.
Okay.
But he didn't die by getting shot by the cops.
So do you know what the Constitutional Sheriff's Movement is?
No.
Amid reports of harassment outside ballot drop boxes and threats to election workers, experts are sounding an alarm about another potential source of election interference ahead of the 2020 midterms. A growing coalition of far-right, quote, constitutional sheriffs who are gearing up to insert themselves into upcoming elections. The Constitutional Sheriffs Movement, which has ties to the Oath Keepers and other anti-government fringe movements, is based on the legally dubious belief that sheriffs are the ultimate law enforcement authority within their counties, superseding state and federal officials, including the U.S. president. In recent years, self-appointed constitutional sheriffs have refused to enforce various laws they deemed unconstitutional, from state and federal gun laws to pandemic-era mask mandates. Does this sound familiar? This is on Yahoo News. A lady named Caitlin Dixon wrote it on October 29th, 2022. And I thought I would just share it. These constitutional sheriffs, leading the charge are 2 constitutional sheriffs groups, the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and Protecting America Now, which have aligned themselves with True the Vote, a conservative vote monitoring group whose widely discredited claims about voter fraud in the 2020 election were the basis of the film 2,000 Mules. So is all this time together for you yet?
Oh, man, it just makes me wonder how, I just can't wait to see what all of the investigations that are fixing to be launched out of Washington that are going to produce nothing. Nothing.
All right. A Stanford University graduate has filed an appeal to the Alabama Supreme Court on a case in which he alleges Stanford University wrongfully seized a fraternity house and never paid the house corporation run by alumni. Stanford University in 2012 seized the Theta Alpha Zeta and Lambda Chi Alpha fraternity chapter after a hazing incident. It shut down and took over the building without paying the nonprofit corporation run by alumni that owned it, according to the lawsuit filed in Jefferson County Court. So that is not unusual. We had a house corporation for Sigma Nu fraternity at Auburn University, and of course it was exploited for nefarious purposes, but that's how it works. There's a private corporation that owns the house, usually in fee simple, and then they have some kind of a lease agreement. So anyway,
Right.
It'll be interesting to see how this goes down, because you can't take something without paying somebody for
I was
it.
gonna
I
say,
remember
what's gonna
reading
happen,
something about
they'll have
that
to
in
pay
the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, they're going to have to pay for it.
Yep. So anything else you want to talk to, Mr. Rip?
No, not really. I hope everybody has a fantastic Turkey Day, and I understand the weather next week is going to be extremely cold, and I want you to think about that all week, Harry, while I'm sitting down there on the beach in Belize.
New tonight, a retired Dothan City employee could be setting the stage to sue his old bosses, and he's got a pretty good reason. The city repeatedly forged his name. Here's News Force investigative reporter Ken Curtis.
Larry Patrick spent decades as a devoted and respected Dothan City employee. Among his duties, overseeing the after-school nutrition program. Patrick was tasked with making sure accurate data was submitted to receive federal funds. By all accounts, he did a good job. And in 2013, Larry Patrick proudly retired. You would think his name would no longer be used since he no longer worked for the city. You would think. But it didn't work out that way.
The city of Dothan, without his knowledge, signed Larry Patrick's name time and time and time again.
Perhaps his signature would still be electronically submitted if not for allegations of dishonesty in the feeding program.
I wonder where that
The city
came from.
blames the mess on Stephanie Wingfield, who
wonder who dug that
supervised
up.
feeding after Patrick retired. Wingfield, the city manager, claims never changed Patrick's login credentials. Wingfield was fired amid.
Now, did you see who the city manager is? Oh, Kevin
I did
Cowper.
not.
Kevin Cowper. He was our county planner here.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
fraud allegations. As for
I
Larry
hope he's
Patrick,
enjoying
he
Dothan.
feels betrayed, humiliated by the very city to which he dedicated 34 years. He
Damn.
became the subject of news stories
That paperwork had the signature of a person who's not been employed in years.
because the city didn't keep an eye on its business. And in this claim, Patrick's attorney is asking for $150,000. And if it's not paid, Larry Patrick is ready to go to court.
You go, Larry.
All right, so listen to this. So,
Line up, everybody.
All right, so my gal blows the whistle, right? Writes a letter, says I've been led to believe that my bid's been exposed. So then there's a federal investigation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just imagine you're this guy sitting at your house and the FBI shows up and they say, "Hey man, we need to talk to you about this after school feeding program." And he goes, "Well, I don't know what I could tell you, gentlemen. I've been retired for 7 years." And they go, "I think we got the wrong guy, Dano." You see what I mean?
I can't.
Now, I'm not
believe
saying
they-
that's how it happened, but it certainly.
I know, but I can't
How else
believe
would
that-
he been made aware that his name was being used if
I
not
know,
for?
but how in the hell? You mean they just used his name all those years?
Yeah.
God Almighty, man!
So it makes it begs to wonder if they've been doing that for 8 years. What else all is going on?
What else have they been doing? He should have asked for more than 150.
So I saw your RIP report. That was pretty good. The new logo with the tree falling
stump,
over.
man.
Yep.
Listen, this park stone is right down below me. My goodness. I'm telling you, Harry, out of 250 trees on the property, now I'm talking about huge, monstrous hardwoods and everything, they have taken down over 200 trees just to clear cut everything. So that's why I got the tree stump on there like that.
Mm-hmm. So there is something called long COVID, but thank God Pfizer has something to combat it. The Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources is dropping its rule requiring written permission to carry a firearm into state parks. These changes take effect January 1st.
To carry?
Right. I mean, they're just saying that, you know, if you want to carry a gun into the woods, well, you ought to be able to do that.
I would think. Carry it on the street.
And I really hate that Raines wasn't here for this one, but I really wouldn't know what to say. You know, you just wonder, and I guess you're aware that the wild man of rock and roll, Jerry Lee Lewis, died at the age of 87.
Man, I'll tell you what, you can't listen to Jerry Lee Lewis and sit in a chair.
No, not for long.
I can't. He or James Brown, either one.
And in the ultimate irony, a Florida attorney who opposed the state's helmet law dies in a motorcycle crash.
No helmet.
Wasn't wearing a helmet.
A helmet.
Oh, man.
Fate.
So the only other thing that I saw that I thought was interesting is Huntsville. You know, if you want to have a medical cannabis license, you got to go to the local government. Let's just say it's in unincorporated Baldwin County. Yeah. You'd have to go to the county commission, and they'd have to say, "Yeah, we'll let you have a dispensary there." So Huntsville would limit medical cannabis to certain districts under a certain zoning amendment. So I mean,
have you been to Huntsville lately, Harry?
Oh yeah.
My God.
I did a lot of campaigning up there,
man. Absolutely amazing. They have like a 3-mile elevated pathway linking half a dozen neighborhoods and all types of things and infrastructure going in. It is light years away from where we are. I'm telling you. It's impressive when you go through town on the highway.
So, do you know the reason that I don't comment on these cases that Gabe Tynes covers? So I'll just, in several instances since he first took the bench in 2017, Mobile County Circuit Judge James Patterson walked right up to the lines of judicial ethics, brazenly crossed in full view of the plaintiffs, defense attorneys, and juries and others, but later recognized the errors of his ways and apologized. Patterson was suspended from the bench in June after the Alabama Judicial Inquiry Commission filed a 37-page complaint alleging he abused his authority and exhibited inappropriate demeanor and temperament in the courtroom. So, you know why I ain't said anything?
Why?
Because he's been reinstated, and he's going to be making decisions about clients of mine. So
that's constitutional news.
I will just leave that there. And so the only other thing that I saw, the Alabama Supreme Court has upheld the ouster of Talladega County probate judge Randy Jenks, who was removed from office after a court ruled he displayed sexually inappropriate behavior and racist conduct, including calling George Floyd just another thug after a Minnesota officer murdered him. After reviewing the record in the case, we conclude that the court of the judiciary is supported by clear and convincing evidence. The Alabama Supreme Court ruled in a unanimous opinion, and that was a few weeks ago. So, anyway, displayed racist conduct by saying he asked an attorney in the presence of a probate office employee if he knew an acronym for a racial epithet involving the N-word. Asked a probate employee who is black if she was a drug dealer when they purchased a new vehicle, and just things like that. was overheard saying, y'all got to quit burning shit down because you'll need something to burn down after Trump gets elected to a second term, sons of bitches. And then he showed a subordinate a sexually explicit video in the workplace. Yes, I would say, given the preponderance of the evidence, that they probably did the right thing. All right, Paul. So the other good news is that Biden got his 5th COVID shot. So if anybody's likely to croak on it, it's him.
He's got one up on me now.
And just on the local cannabis news, Fairhope, second Alabama city to say no to hosting medical marijuana dispensaries, while Daphne, Foley, and Spanish Fort approved it without any opposition.
Now, we want to reach out to any of our listeners, Harry, that might have seen that ad on a local porn site about marijuana being shipped to Alabama. So you can call in anonymously and tell us if you see that commercial. We'll report it to the sheriff's department.
Okay, so one more lawsuit. And I think we talked about this last time about the personal vendetta lawsuit by the bridge operators against DOT.
Yeah.
So listen, I don't know when this is going to be heard, but don't you worry, I shall be there, and I will report back to everyone these arguments, because I don't trust anybody in the press to cover it and do it any justice, because this. It's kind of like that time I had another member of the bar's longtime secretary on the stand. Do you remember that?
Yep.
I swore him in, and I said, "Can you tell me what you do and how long you've done it?" And she said that she worked for it, and I looked at the judge, and I said, "A lot of people envious of me right now. Love to have you under oath for hours and hours, but I'm not going to go into it like that." So yeah, these things are always interesting to me to see what really plays out in court and what people really think about each other. That's also.
And what's that next picture under it?
What the African Town documentary? Yes, on Netflix,
right,
and of course that's.
I haven't seen it yet. Have you?
No, I haven't. I kind of let my Netflix thing go. It kind of was letting me down. I picked up some Disney Plus or whatever in its place, and I guess I'm going to have to go back and get Netflix again. Kind of sucks.
Yeah. All
right, Mr. Rip. Well, I certainly had a good time, and I'll see you on the flip side.
All right, everybody have a good Thanksgiving, and Harry, think about me down there next week.
It's going to be really... a lot of fun thinking about that. Have fun, man.
All right, you too. Take care.
Item FA6, I would like for that item to be pulled till the next meeting so that we can have an opportunity to discuss that.
Okay. I've got a request from Commissioner Underwood to pull item number FA6. All right. Any other ones?
What date is that, Anu? 5.
Okay. And anybody else have any other ones? All right. If not, then do I hear a motion that we adopt items FA1 through FA5?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Got a motion made by Commissioner Underwood to adopt the FA1 through 5, seconded by Commissioner Ball. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Any requests?
Not today.
Okay.
No. Mr. Chairman, I do want to go back to, I think when we got through the first part of the FA items, Mr. McCullum is here on FM6 or FA6 if we need any clarification. We are taking it to the work session on December 5th, but Mr. McCullum, if you want to come up.
Commissioners, always a pleasure to be in front of you, and congratulations on your swearing in this morning. There are a few things that I give up my daily morning cigar for, but here we are this morning. I knew I would get a head shake from you on that, Commissioner Underwood.
Good morning.
The lease agreement that you pulled from the agenda, I had asked Anu to make some copies of some local legislation to give you just a little bit of a background there, involving the creation of the delegation office and the duties and responsibilities of us as a body, y'all as a body, with regards to those particular items. If you wouldn't mind, I'd pass it out to you right now.
So essentially, they passed a law that said the county has to provide them with office space. And then through, I think it's the 1 cent sales tax, they get a portion of that, and that money goes into a special fund, and then it's allocated for their offices. So the county has to do it.
Oh, take one down, pass it.
The Baldwin County Department of Archives and History's about page number 2, number 1 there, the last paragraph on the page. And we will start with 75% shall be distributed to the county general fund to be expended as approved by the Baldwin County Commission for general purposes. However, and per fiscal year from the foregoing distribution, the Baldwin County Commission shall appropriate $200,000 into a separate county fund to be used for the operation of the Baldwin County Legislative Office established by Section 45-2190, including but not limited to office equipment, communication equipment, salary supplements for personnel. If it would therein.
Commissioners, y'all have any questions you'd like to ask Cliff McCollum?
Well, I am the one that asked to have it pulled, so, Mr. Chairman, I will address your question. I just simply didn't think we had had an opportunity to even discuss this, and since there was an ask of the Commission, a monetary amount. Over the last few months, we have been enlightened on how many buildings we own and how many spaces we have out there. And every time we turn around, oh, we own this building. We need to put $1 million roof on this building. Oh, we own this building. Oh, we have this dilapidated building. And I felt like that it was just an opportunity that we need to really make an assessment of what we have and we don't have. Now, if you guys want to engage into this opportunity, and we are the body that has to engage into these leases, and it is a partnership, and we want to work together. And I do not want there to be any kind of repercussions to the county commission if there's an opportunity. If this is what the legislative delegation really wants to do. I wanted to simply look at it and make an assessment as to, are we making the best utilization of all of the buildings that we have? As I've traveled around this great state of Alabama and not been to all 67 counties. I don't know if that's really a bucket list of mine or not, but I've been to several of them. And I will tell you that we are more than blessed in the county of Baldwin, and that we have a lot of opportunities and spaces that are out there. And so I just feel like that we need to work together because we need each other. And sometimes one might need the other more than the other at times. But I just simply wanted to have an opportunity to look at what was there. This showed up.
Like, why are we leasing this office from Bob Wills, the mayor of Bay Minette? Like, nobody ever says that, but that's the issue.
On the agenda very quickly, and it's like, boom, okay. We're going to be entering into a 5-year lease for something. Nobody has said anything to us about the building that was over there on the street, except for, I've heard it needed a little work on it. Okay, so if we're going to be spending $25,000 a year, and you guys spending about $25,000 a year, or let's round it down to 49, whatever it was, and some change. What are we going to do with all these derelict buildings that we have laying around Bay Minette and some of the other parts of the county? It was simply an opportunity to have a discussion. We didn't have an opportunity to do that prior to this meeting because of the statute that's put in place that prevents us from having any kind of a discussion. So this was not meant to be any kind of anything other than an opportunity to discuss. But I also want to make it on the record that if there is going to be some kind of repercussions for us not participating in this, then that needs to be discussed as well.
I am not aware of any particular repercussions that could come from this. No one has made any threats, whether good working relationships with one another. You may be less so.
So that was my, reasoning for wanting to make an assessment of what do we have. I met with Senator Albritton in a boardroom in the RC&D building in Atmore. I mean,
To say we are. So,
Commissioner Underwood, being that you requested it, do you want to pull your request and let's go ahead and vote on it?
Sure.
Okay.
Hide your kids.
Well, Harry, so let's get it straight. Will you revise the lease, Brad?
Yes, I will revise the lease. And since y'all didn't really take any formal action to table it or anything earlier, so I think you could just have a motion to approve FA6 with modification by the county attorney reflecting that the delegation will pay the full lease amount.
Okay. Y'all hear a motion?
Because that's what really matters.
FA6, or is there any more discussion?
I just want to state that it wasn't so much about the amount of money. It was more about the utilization of space that we already are out there paying for.
So, Mr. Rip, this is why I'm trying to tell you we are totally ineffective, and I'm sorry I didn't do that while I had you on the line.
That was my main point, okay? But if you guys are willing to pay the whole amount, because we would have to do an amendment to our budget in order to share that cost.
no, and anything we can do to help alleviate and
So what's the total cost?
simplify things for y'all, we're happy to do. We are partners in helping, making sure.
Just making sure, because you referenced if it's about the money. It wasn't.
Got pulled. It
But
sent some alarm bells out.
I understand the time crunch as well, that everybody needs to get into their offices. So
you got some legislators, especially some new ones, that are just ready to hit the ground running, and we want to be able to let them do what they need to do.
And we look forward to them helping the county commission.
Whatever we can do to be of help, y'all have all got my government phone and my personal phone, and I can answer them anytime.
all right, Commissioner Group, I'll tell you, I'll make the motion whatever Brad said.
That'll work.
Okay, I mean, he said it so good, I don't want to take it away from him. Whatever I take staff's attorney recommendation on, do we need to first make a motion to pull? Commissioner Underwood need to rescind.
I think the way you stated it's fine.
All right, so no formal action was taken there, so I make the motion that we take staff's attorney's recommendation with the modification of the lease to reflect that the delegation will pay the full amount of rent at this office space.
Okay. I got a motion by Commissioner Ball to approve item number FA6, which is a lease agreement for the Robert A. Wills for office space for the Baldwin County Legislative Delegation in Bay Minette, Alabama.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner McKenzie. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Commissioner.